Welcome back to the PozCast. As always, I am joined by my little brother Bobby, and Joebay has returned. He is back for Dumb and Dumber. Now, Bobby, a time or two in our lives we've been referred to as Dumb and Dumber, but I ask you this, which one's which? Who's dumb, who's dumber?
I would say I'm dumber. I don't really think I'm that smart of a guy. I think I've gotten really lucky in life. So, yeah, I'll give you that, Mark. You are the Harry to my Lloyd.
Oh, so we're going with Harry is smarter. I love it. Joebay.
It was a surprise to me. Harry's the smart one. Harry can read. Lloyd can't even read. It's a surprise.
Joebay, you love this movie. Welcome back. What is it about this flick that gets you going?
Great to be back on the Poz, guys. I appreciate it. This is my 1-year anniversary of my first appearance from Dazed and Confused. So excited to be invited back.
Is that true, Joebay, or did you just make that up like you do everything else?
It's roughly true. It was February of last year. So
okay, good.
Yeah, maybe a little longer than 1 year, but yeah, very excited to be here, especially for an awesome movie. I got to admit, though, I thought it was still sequel month, so I watched Dumb and Dumberer. So I may be a little off on a couple of things here, but I think I remember the movie. I mean, Dumb and Dumber. Come on, it's obviously the perfect comedy movie at the perfect time in my life. I was 14 years old when it came out. Probably not a bigger Jim Carrey fan in the world at that time. I absolutely loved that guy with The Mask and Ace Ventura and this all in the same year. I've always been kind of a goofy guy. Believe it or not, at the time, I was somewhat strange looking, which I think Jim Carrey could be accused of. Had that sort of rubbery body with kind of a weird face. Yeah, that kind of jibed with Joebay at 14, maybe Joebay at 44 as well. But yeah, just an awesome movie, and I loved rewatching it this week. It was so much fun, and my kids now are probably not old enough to see it, but they watch it and just love it. So it's just like a new joy for me. It's one of my favorites.
How was the rewatch, Bobby?
It was good. Surprised it was 2 hours. Kind of my Rudy Sack's disappointment of 2 hours. Very similar to Dark Knight. It was just a little too long at the end, but where it's good, I think Joebay nailed it for the time of our lives that we were watching this. To see Jim Carrey, shockingly, I found myself saying several times, like, he's a great actor. Now, it's silly to say as Lloyd Christmas, but there were spots in there where, like, okay, this guy can really, really act. You could tell, he was off to the moon this year, but where it's good, it doesn't get much better in comedies. And as I thought, the quotes, I don't know how we're going to do quotes. I think you just let me read off every single quote, just the whole script of the movie, and you guys laugh where you want to laugh. It's just amazing.
It is. There were a ton of quotes. We haven't had a lot of quotes lately here in 2025, but we're going to make up for it today. Joebay mentioned the sequel, Dumb and Dumberer. I never saw it. Did you see it, Bobby? I don't think I did not.
I don't think I did. It wasn't Jim Carrey, was it? Was it Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels?
Dumb and Dumberer was not Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. It was Chip McDonald and Philip Johnson were the two guys. But
there's no way that's true. There's no way that's true.
There's no fact checking on this. There was also the sequel Dumb and Dumber 2, T-O, misspelled. And that actually did have, I believe that had Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. I think I saw it was 2014. I remember watching it.
Yeah.
Don't remember anything about it. It was worthless.
No good. Yeah, I think I am completely out on sequels. I don't want any more made unless you come right out and you just say, look, I'm making a trilogy ahead of time. It's basically going to be a 6-hour movie broken up into 3 parts. I just don't. The Gladiator 2 thing, a lot of these sequels are just bad, and particularly with comedies. I don't know if a comedy sequel has ever worked. 31 years ago. Good grief. December.
This is an old movie. This is an old movie.
It really is. December of 94, directed by the Farrelly brothers. We're going to go through that IMDb a little bit here in a minute. Really impressive. I don't think those guys get enough run. You mentioned Jim Carrey. Jeff Daniels, who was paid $50,000 to be in this movie. Apparently the director didn't want him. And Lauren Holly, a little bit of a smoke show there. Box office, Joebay. $247 million worldwide. Number 7. Jim Carrey had 3 top 25 movies. You mentioned that a minute ago. A question for you coming up. Number 1 at the box office in 94, The Lion King. Bobby loves that movie. He references it every now and again during Bob's Big Questions.
I just saw the live action. I think I told you. It was great. It was great. The live action Mufasa, the prequel, was pretty good. Really good.
Very good. But 1994, guys, will always be defined by the big three movies of Forrest Gump, The Shawshank Redemption, and Pulp Fiction. We have covered all three. And every now and again, Bob, I'll say, which one is your favorite? It's like the day of the week. I think I changed my mind. As of right now, Bobby, of the three, what's the best one? Gump, Shawshank, or Pulp?
It's Gump. It's Gump. It's Gump, which was a surprise. Going into that, before we did all those movies, it was in third. It just rocketed. After all the rewatches, it rockets to first. It's good. I'm going to stand by it. A guy at work who I led into the secret. Not many people at work know I do the podcast. He gave me the book, Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption. So I read the Shawshank Redemption. It's pretty cool how they kind of changed a little bit. But it's Gump, Mark. You?
Joebay, I want to hear your thoughts first. Where do you go?
Well, I know you guys never like to disagree on the PozCast because the Poz Brothers like
it's in the charter. It's in the manifesto.
To me, it is either Gump or Shawshank. There's Pulp Fiction doesn't enter in the conversation for me, but it's Shawshank for me. But you know, it's 1A and 1B. I think they're both fantastic. Oh, I'm sorry, 2A and 2B because obviously Dumb and Dumber would be number one that year.
Yeah, I think on today, the last day of February, I'm going to go with Shawshank. But tomorrow, it might be something else. Another big three, Jim Carrey's three. Ace Ventura, we covered it, Bobby, with 603, memorably. Dumb and Dumber, we're doing today. And The Mask, three top 25 movies. Joebay, what's your favorite of the Jim Carrey triumvirate? Bobby loves that word.
Ooh, the triumvirate. Another tough one, but for me, again, it's just two. It's Ace Ventura or Dumb and Dumber. And like you, Mark, one day I could say one day I could say the other. I think today, because I loved it so much, I loved watching it so much this week, Dumb and Dumber, but both fantastic. And just all three of them so rewatchable too.
Bobby?
I'm just waiting for the next question of Marco. And Bobby, is 1994 the greatest year of all time?
It's coming.
It's coming. Now, I think it's Dumb and Dumber, Coach. I think it's Dumb and Dumber.
I do too, and I'm not sure it's even particularly close. I enjoyed it way better than Ace Ventura. Ace Ventura, I think, makes Jim Carrey, but this one was better. The Farrelly brothers. Now, I'm going to run you through some movies here. Underrated, I think. I just don't think I think of these guys that often. But when I get to the last movie, this was the movie you needed last week, Bobby, on the directors, where you basically tried to lead me down a path of, hey, what film in a filmography of a director doesn't make sense? It took me a while to figure where you were going, but your general take was, isn't it weird that Christopher Nolan did a Batman movie, kind of like looking back? So listen to this. When I get to the last one, maybe this was your answer, Bobby. Dumb and Dumber in 94, 96 Kingpin. There's Something About Mary in 98, which might be the funniest of all of these. Yeah. Me, Myself, and Irene, okay. Shallow Hal, pretty good in 01. Fever Pitch in 05 for you Red Sox fans. Hall Pass in 11, which is pretty good. And then out of nowhere in 2018, Bobby, The Green Book. Were the Farrelly brothers your answer for most odd movie in a filmography?
The one that won the Academy Award? Did
yes.
Win the Academy Award?
Yes, and a great movie.
I think that you've caught the Joebay sickness of just making things up out of thin air. Is that true?
That is true. Can you believe it? Makes no sense.
That's the winner. Go back to last podcast. That's the winner. by no doubt, that's the winner.
One more for you guys. Unless, Bobby, did you go down the rabbit hole of sibling directors, a Hall of Fame plaque?
No, I didn't. The Wachowski brothers or sisters, whatever.
Well, yeah, so they'll be in this. So listen up, you two. The Farrelly brothers, right? I just rattled off some really, really good movies from our lifetime and an Academy Award-winning Best Picture, The Green Book. You've got the Coen brothers.
Yeah.
Fargo, Big Lebowski, No Country for Old Men. Not too shabby right there. The Russo brothers. All of the MCU stuff, including Infinity War and Endgame, which are probably the best two, discounting Iron Man. The Wachowskis, brothers, sisters, what have you, did The Matrix, right? I mean, that in and of itself, wrote V for Vendetta, which my family really liked for some reason, and Cloud Atlas. I think it comes down to probably the Coen brothers and the Farrelly brothers. Joebay, who's the best sibling director pair?
Yeah, I would agree. It comes down to those two because I don't care about any movies other than comedies, basically. So that's all that's on my radar. again, the recency bias, you guys love to refer to it on the podcast. I'm going Farrelly Brothers because I can't get off of this movie. And what was there? There was two more that you mentioned for the Farrelly Brothers.
There's something about Mary.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Shallow Hal. Yeah.
And Kingpin. They did Kingpin.
And Kingpin. Yeah.
Oh God, I was just watching some clips from Kingpin that are just made me want to watch that movie so bad. Yeah, I'll say Farrelly Brothers. The discussion's over. It's over. I already won.
Yeah, Fargo and No Country for Old Men. Those are pretty good. But yeah, it's two distinctly different genres. So we'll go. It's a tie, Mark. And is this the Memento podcast? Are we going backwards? These are Hall of Fame plaques. Why didn't you wait to do that for Hall of Fame plaques?
I had it here, and I'm like, I will ask Bob if he had a Hall of Fame plaque. He didn't, so I just went right here up at the front.
I, as a little bit of a teaser, I do have best synonyms for boobs. That's coming. Best pooping scene. That's coming. So I prepared. So don't think I didn't prepare.
Oh God, I've got so much material for both of those. I can't wait.
I just have one other little tidbit. You probably found it, Bobby. So I'll kind of turn it over to you. Golden Schmoes. How'd we do here?
No, basically no award. Basically no awards. There was like 5 awards. Really nothing happened. A couple cool facts. You're right. Jeff Daniels. They said, "Hey, we don't want you. Nobody wants you. Okay, here's $50,000. He took it sight unseen. I'm going to be here." He filmed a lot of the first scenes by himself without Jim Carrey because they were just trying to test him out. And if they didn't work, they would just get rid of the film. And then it obviously worked. Jim Carrey was given, he agreed to do this movie for $700,000. Ace Ventura and the Mask go to #1. Then he gets $7 million. Now, nice. ChatGPT and Google couldn't give me like, hey, other examples of this, but $700,000 to $7 million, which is great. This movie is all of the comedies that we've done. I was thinking, I kind of knew when the good lines were coming and when to laugh. This was an incredible movie for just drinking your coffee and just spitting out because you didn't know a line was coming. Like, for example, everybody knows when we get to quotes, our pets' heads are falling off. That's a great quote that is used. But right before that, he's like, I've had a tough day. Petey died. Lloyd goes, really? Petey died? How'd he die? His head fell off. His head fell off. And Harry goes, yeah, he was getting old. Just stuff like that I forgot about these. Jim Carrey is incredible. Like I told you, it's incredible how old this movie is. He runs through the airport, no security. And as the flight for Aspen has taken off, it's a wood sign that they moved that says Aspen. I mean, holy cow, this movie is old. And again, it's kind of a smart comedy and a silly comedy in some of those ways. So it was cool. 2 hours, just way too long. This needs to be 1 hour and 30 minutes. Trump has yet to sign that executive order. I think he's busy. And the internet is just filled with, Tom Hanks was supposed to be in this movie. But the one reoccurring one that I kept seeing was the first original thought was Nicolas Cage and Gary Oldman as Harry and Lloyd. But it was just like every single person in Hollywood, they say, was considered for this. But I think they nailed it for sure.
Oh, they hit it. Yeah, you're right, Bob. There were some spit out moments that I forgot. My Rudy Sack award is it's in a great scene, but a line that I don't even remember that I'm going to have to pull out at some point. Did you guys, Bob, Joebay, you're a big cinematic historian.
Yeah.
Do you know this is the same hotel as The Shining? I did not know that.
Of course. Yeah. I did. It's funny you say that because I saw the hotel last night when I was watching it and I was like, God, that hotel, what is that hotel? It looked like, I guess it's in Colorado, right? I think is where
Stanley Hotel.
I'm such a cinematographer. I don't know, a historian of cinema.
A key grip. That's what you want.
A key grip guy. It just like subconsciously registered with me. But one other funny little factoid that I saw in our research, I thought all the different people that were supposed to play the roles were pretty amazing. But Jeff Daniels also in Speed this year, playing a character named Harry. And then Shay, who was like the bad assassin with Mental, also played Shay in another movie the same year. And that is the only time in cinema history that 2 characters in a movie have played the same named character in the same year.
I saw that. I saw that. Yeah, that was the first fact that came up on Google and ChatGPT. Nice job.
Yeah, amazing. The Poz Nation is riveted by
Riveted.
that type of fact.
They're riveted to know what's in that big coffee cup of yours. It's early in the morning, but I think the way you're swigging that coffee, it could be that bottle of Sancerre. What was it at Caddyshack?
A gentleman never tells.
A gentleman.
You guys want to jump into scenes, or Bob? You got any other tidbits?
No, we got a long way to go here.
Oh, just one more? This was another one that had an R rating with that flashing lights.
Flashing lights. And I think the only flashing lights I saw, because now I watch for it, is when he takes that grinder to his toenails. It's the only real flashing lights I saw. There's no other flashing lights. I don't get it.
I don't get it.
I wish I could just put a poll to the podcast listeners. Does anybody care when I bring this up, or are they just like, you're an idiot? Hey, big guy, have a great day. Love you, man.
There was a notable flashing light scene.
Oh yes,
So maybe that was the flashing lights. All right, the YouTube award.
Are you referring to the fun bags on that hose hound? Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
YouTube award for the best scene. I'm interested to see where you guys go. I do just want to throw out, I had never noticed this. 31 years, probably seen the movie 10 times. The opening credits where everything is spelled wrong. Did you guys see this? Directed is spelled wrong, produced, wrote by instead of written by.
Mark, not only did I see it, if you look at my ChatGPT history, I say, is there a difference between photography with a PH and photography with an F? I didn't see all of it, but I saw it. I was like, that's weird. Maybe it's something different. So, no, I'm an idiot. I'm the dumber of the dumb. Yeah.
There you go. No idea. Had no idea that was like that. Joebay, what's your favorite scene? Funniest? What are you going back to and watching?
Oh, so hard for me because there was several that I just absolutely love. For me, I think my favorite, it's not just because of the jokes and because of what a great scene it is. It's because of the memory that I have of watching this scene. So one of the reasons why I love this movie so much is that when I was 14 years old or whatever I was, I saw it a couple times and loved it. And my best friend in the world, Timmy Coco, who was like my best friend since we were like 3 years old, had not seen the movie yet, but has the exact same sense of humor that I do, loves a good fart joke, a good poop joke, like, more than probably anybody in the world. And so when we watched the movie together, it was his first time watching it. And the scene where the dream sequence where he, gets Mary and impresses her. And then when he lights his fart, I remember just watching Coco's face as that happened. And it was like if someone had seen Jesus Christ. It was so amazing how excited and happy. And for him, it was clearly his Rudy Sack scene. So that whole thing just like warms my heart every time I see it. But I mean, just from like when he hugs her and he just, he's so happy to see her, lifts up the skirt and sees her buns. The sweaters the people are wearing. He tells the joke where you just hear the punchline, which I always think is so funny. Do you love me? No, but that's a great ski mask or something like that. It just doesn't make any sense. And then he lights the fart, which is just fantastic. And then he throws the nuts in his face, which is just such a great ending to it. So for me, that's I'm going to choose that as my favorite scene for sentimental reasons.
And didn't even mention the Temple of Doom reference with the hand right in the heart.
I mean, the fight, it continues into the fight scene, which is just wonderful.
Yeah, I think, and this isn't most YouTubeable moment, correct, Mark? This is just best
your
scene.
Favorite scene, yeah.
It might be both. I love the snowman scene with the snowball fight and how Harry just, when he throws that snowball in her face as hard as he possibly can after she just lightly throws some snow at him, and then they just fight for like 3 minutes and it ends with him just taking that girl's face in the snow. I think it's hilarious. I think it shows, not only are they dumb, they just have no idea what's going on in the world, which I think is great.
And you talk about great acting. I mean, Jeff Daniels is an amazing actor in that scene where he's like
rubbing his nose.
He's ready to go. That's awesome.
There's plenty more. Mark, what was yours?
Yeah, so mine was, it's a longer thing. It starts with the Pretty Woman montage where they're getting ready and he gets that tuxedo on into the Snow Owl benefit, just because when they're in those suits, The amount of memes and GIFs that I've sent where he just whacks him in the back with that cane is just, I laugh out loud every time I see it as if it's the first time I've seen it. So it's long. I'm probably cheating a little bit. Love a montage. That whole thing is great. When he does that little dance, when he's got the orange suit, he finally knows he's got it. So that would be my favorite. There's plenty of other little scenes that you got to throw in here. Honorable mention.
The sea bass scene, the getting pulled over and the cop drinking the pee scene, the hot pepper scene. I mean, fast forward to questions: should they be in jail for murder? But I just love when he falls down and Lloyd just goes, "Ah!" Just points right at him as he's dying.
And they dance over his body.
The moped scene, the whole quote scene of when they turn in the truck for the moped, when he tells him to pee and just let it go, man. Then they get there. We're there. He stands up and he's, and then you talked about the owl scene. Sorry for the shaking. The Chewie is right next to me, just scratching himself, and he's shaking the table. Sorry about that.
I can't. I mean, there's so many though too. Like the very first scene, the airport pickup scene. I was like, I was trying to write down all the notes for my favorite scene, and then it just wouldn't end because it was just so good. There's just so many great quotes from that. And then it goes right into the getting the bare essentials, and he's got to get that Rhode Island Slut magazine. He just can't.
That big cowboy hat, those little wind things that spin. This is our last bucks. Make sure you're good with it. It's so awesome.
Yeah, and the song from Peaky Blinders playing there.
More to come on that.
Red Right Hand or something like that.
Red Right Hand, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Love that. And I mean, it's amazing that nobody has mentioned like maybe the most iconic scene in movie history, the poop scene. Like, I don't. Maybe I'm too old for it now. I watched it and I was just like, oh God, this is gross. But the cherry on top squeakier fart at the very end.
And he smiles. He's just so happy.
Amazing. Just fantastic. I love that.
Yeah, I think the only other one that I would add that you guys maybe said but didn't, when they realize Lloyd has gone the wrong way and he goes and sells the van and returns on the hog and he pulls up and rings the bell right at the last second.
Yep.
It's just really good. And you get a great quote after that, which is a good transition into quotes. You mentioned it, Bob, too hard to really go through here, all of them, because it's just a litany of them that I've got. So, Joebay, throw out two or three. Bobby, throw out two or three. We'll just kind of go around, do some of your favorites and most memorable.
It really is. It's so hard. And like when you think back on how I talk to people, I realize so much of my dialogue with my friends is just speaking through movie quotes. So I was thinking of like some that I use the most, at least recently. We're really doing it, buddy. Which I mean, I'd probably say that to somebody every day. Love that. I don't think I ever read for someone or like read something to someone where I don't pretend not to know how to read the word the. It's a tough one. I just love that. And I mean, another just that you use every time. Do you ever go to a restaurant that has a soup du jour and not ask what's the soup du jour? And the waitress always well, I mean, unless they're under 35 years old, always knows how to say it's the soup of the day.
That sounds good. I'll have that.
Yeah, I mean, there's good. I'll stop there and let Bobby say some because there's just so many.
Yeah, when we're talking about that things that you use, can anybody say Austria or Australia without saying good day, mate? Put another shrimp on the barbie. That's obviously good. Same scene kind of later when that airbag hits him. He's right in the middle of saying goodbye, my love, and then the airbag comes out. What's the soup of the day? Obviously, pull over. No, it's a cardigan, but thank you for asking. Kick his ass, Seabass. That John Denver's full of shit. Expect the Rocky Mountains to be a little bit more rocky. And then my all-time favorite. I was saying it on the field yesterday with Mater, who's a huge fan. He's the best. I think it may be the funniest scene in movie history. I know I'm very dramatic when I say this. It wasn't a script. These guys were actually extra. They weren't even extras on the site. They were just watching it being filmed. But when he leaves the gas station, he says, big gulps. Hey, guys. Well, see you later. Just means nothing. It's just hilarious. I don't know why it's so hilarious. But if, God forbid, we go to QT or 7-Eleven and you get a fountain drink It's obviously going to be big gulps. Hey guys, well, see you later. There's more, Mark. There's more,
That
Mark.
couldn't have been in the script, right?
No.
Like, can you imagine a world where that was in a script?
I read something that the guys weren't even extras. They were just watching it being filmed, and he kind of takes a right and goes by him. It's just amazing. It's just amazing.
That's so good.
Yeah.
It's so funny you say that. That would easily be in my top 2. There's another couple of guys at work that kind of into movies, and if we come out of a break or at a break, and another one comes up and you're drinking something, big gulps, huh? Like, it just is every single time. The other one that you use a lot is, so you're telling me there's a chance, right? Like, just in any sort of odd scenario. Bob, I was shocked that you didn't have the Slippy, Swanson,
It's
Sweeney.
there. Mark, there's too much. Like, I can't.
But you say that a lot. That was one I thought you would kind of pop out.
Yeah. Anytime somebody's trying to think of a word, it's Slippy, Slappy, Swanson. He actually says Swanson in the lines that he's saying. And here's another great laugh out loud. He's like, Samsonite, I was way off. Well, later in the movie, when they see the guy in the hotel that said, that's my briefcase, he goes, Mr. Samsonite. It's so good. It's so good. I like it a lot. That's obviously said a lot. And then in my quotes, I've got some of the physical comedy that we use. When Lloyd sees when Mary getting out of the Lambo, and he starts to cry, and then he goes, and acts like he's about to throw up, like he's just gagging there. Those are all good. Harry, your hands are freezing. And somebody's hands are really, really cold. I don't know if they sell the Bianca anymore or whatever it's called.
Banaka.
But if I Banaka, if I gave you Banaka to spray in your mouth to freshen your breath, it's immediately going outwards. It's immediately. That's not a quote, but it's there. Anybody says the word Aspen, it's Aspen, California. Beautiful. What else? Want to hear the most annoying sound in the world? That our pets' heads are falling off. Yeah, it's great, man. It's great. He must work out.
I've got to mention one other physical comedy one because my friends and I in college just love this. When he goes, well, if that guy over there is Seabass, and Seabass goes, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. And we were just obsessed with the way he pointed to himself. And anytime anybody in my friend group walks into a place, we always just go. And it has to be right on.
And Joebay, you know who that is? You know who Seabass is?
Of course, yeah.
I didn't know that.
The great Cam Neely, Boston Bruins, great. I've got to mention just 2 other real quick ones because I just love these. Do you ever get a drink with anybody and not say, let's get a couple bowls of loudmouth soup?
Yes, I do, because totally have never heard that line before in my life. I've
Really?
got a Hall of Fame. I don't know why I didn't. But I immediately started a Hall of Fame plaque for synonyms for drinks, because that is the best. That is the absolute best. I've never heard that before, which is awesome.
Well, you're probably going to hear it in about 5 hours here, Bob.
Yes,
So,
yes, we will.
And then one
We'll
other.
probably be late for our tea time because Mark wants to take his time getting on this podcast, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother time.
One other one that had just cracked me up this time is just handing out tips and going, there you go.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
There
This
you go.
one, this is a Lamborghini. I hold on to this one.
That's $275,000. I don't know that. It's just it might be the most quotable. I mean, I think we said Caddyshack is. I'm proud to be on the Poz again when we get another super quotable.
It's
movie.
really good. I think it might be a cast all in and of itself. Most quotable movies. I don't know how. I mean, a full page of quotes that are used. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's up there. I'll be interested to see when we do Fletch, kind of where that falls into it, because there's a lot of them in there. But this one had it. And you mentioned a couple that were ad-libs. I believe I read that he ad-libbed the part where he's walking out of the bar. We landed on the moon? That's great.
That's great. We did it.
All right, we could stay there forever. But what holds up? 31 years, my goodness gracious. I'm glad one of you, I don't know who you said it was, the Red Right Hand, the movie theme or the musical theme for Peaky Blinders. When it started playing, I was like, holy cow. That might have held up more than anything in the entire movie, as popular as Peaky Blinders got. So that was really cool. But Joebay, what else you got from holding up here?
Bob mentioned the Banaka. I mean, I think that's like.
Is it still sold?
Yeah, I was wondering. I wrote it down and then I was like, oh, that might not even exist anymore. But if it does, people are still spraying it out. For my family, it's the throwing the salt over the shoulder. I love, like, anytime somebody spills salt, we are throwing the salt over our shoulder, and of course, it usually results in someone at least throwing some packets of sugar over their shoulder or throwing something on somebody else. It's a good one that holds up. But I mean, God, not wanting to put your tongue on frost. I mean, that's one, like, you can take that back to Christmas Story through this. It's a through line that anytime somebody sees a frozen pole, they're trying to stick their tongue to it.
I love how he says, ooh, frost.
Yeah. Ooh.
You nailed it. Red right hand. Charactercars.com. You can rent the Mutt Cuts van. So I wanted to see if there was one for sale or something like that. Charactercars.com. More to come in Hall of Fame plaques. It's over in the UK somewhere. You can get a bunch of different character cars, including the Mutt Cuts van. The inability to say no still holds up, unfortunately. Lloyd drives her to the airport, gets out of the car, and just says, give me a hug. She should not be hugging this man, but you just can't say no. When you're close to somebody, you can't say no. Laughing holds up. Comedies hold up. Friendship, as an homage to our man Kevin Lawhon, who always likes to get sentimental. These are great friends. They go through a lot of trials and tribulations, but they stick next to each other. Quotable movies holds up. And ironic trucker hats comes up with the famous Seabass trucker hat, which I think is ineligible for the eBay. It's not your.
Come on.
Come on. That's too obvious. But yeah, that's it, Mark.
The French are assholes apparently holds up. A Bo Derek poster still going strong, right?
Still.
Getting a semi to honk. Your kids probably still do that, Bobby, right?
Still do it. There's a rumor that they were in Phoenix for a gymnastics meet. All the girls got kind of on the rail of an outdoor cafe they were going. They did this to a truck going by, and the guy flicks them off. These are 11-year-old. These are 11-year-old girls.
No.
Mary was like, "What is going on here?" So, but yes, it still holds up.
Good grief. Ski towns hold up. I believe it's Breckenridge where they're at. Really cool. Where do you stand on a ski town or a beach town? What do you like better, Joebay?
Ooh, that's a tough question because I just
Sophie's choice.
Yeah, I mean, I just spent a part of a week in a ski town, and it was a fantastic week. But I'm usually a warm weather guy. I'd say, given the choice, let's take both.
Hall of Fame plaque for most pretentious question ever asked. Hey, what do we like? Do we like a ski town or do we like a beach town? Do you like a Chardonnay or a Sincere? Yeah. Sorry, Mark. Sorry.
Dumb humor.
or another quote. Skis. They yours? Yeah. Both of them?
Dumb humor holds up for guys. I tried to show this movie to my family. Completely out. The girls didn't like it. Joebay, do you have any daughters? Where's your wife stand on this thing?
I do have a daughter. She's a little young for this. Not sure she'd love it. Yeah, this is a guy's movie. Definitely.
But Paul, my father-in-law, is a great dude, loves to have a good time, is never watching this and would be offended by it. Is that just because his age when this movie came out, or at us at 84, we'll still think this is funny at 84, correct? Okay.
100%.
Okay,
well, I'm still laughing if somebody farts.
Yeah.
When's that changing?
Never. Farts are always funny.
And by the way, if I knew someone within 10 years of my age, older or younger, that didn't know what I was referring to when I said a line from this movie and think it was funny, we're not ever playing golf together.
We can be cordial, but we're not going to be friends. Yeah.
No, we're not. No. I would venture to say we may not even be cordial.
So this, Joebay, is your Interstellar. Bob has famously said, if you do not like Interstellar, he is completely out on you.
Well, Joebay doesn't like Interstellar.
I'm a little worried about when Bob does ask me about watching Interstellar. But,
Joebay is the anomaly, Mark. We won't even get into his political leanings. Everything says we shouldn't like Joebay, but guess what? I freaking love Joebay.
Bill Simmons, Bobby, apparently out on Interstellar. I sent you that clip. You were not happy.
Yeah, it's a second-rate podcast.
The final thing that holds up, guys, just taking a good shit. I mean, I know what Harry's going through, but there's some moments there where that is pretty good. All right, questions, guys. There was some things in this movie clearly that don't make sense. It's Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
So we have to kind of suspend a little bit here. But Joebay, you got anything burning here in the plot for you?
Oh God! I mean, yeah, it was a completely asinine movie. Like Billy's parents didn't tell him that the head of the bird was taped on.
I thought he was just real quiet.
Yeah, I mean, I think I could ask 50 questions just surrounding the apartment building that the guys were living in. As they're leaving, there's a man just peeing on the side of the like. There was so much going on there, but I choose to put all that aside and say it's a perfectly made movie, and there are no questions that don't have a logical answer.
Listen, Providence. You're from up there. Providence is rough. I mean, there's nice parts of Providence, but there are some rough parts of Providence. What happened to breath spray? So you can still buy breath spray, but this is not a normal way people freshen their breath. Why did this go out, Mark? Why is this not a normal way to freshen your breath? Because it worked. Remember, your whole mouth would just be numb. You can't even feel anything with that stuff.
Yeah, probably just people spraying it in other people's eyes. It almost became like mace, right? Maybe that's why was the Tic Tac invented? More on the Tic Tac later.
I think so. I think Hall of Fame plaque for breath fresheners. I'm going to do that while you guys are doing some other nonsense. So, you talk about putting another shrimp on the Barbie. When did Outback stop becoming a destination great restaurant? Now, it was new when we grew up, and we live in Atlanta, and great restaurants in Atlanta. Another pretentious question. What's the favorite restaurant in Atlanta? So Outback is still fantastic. Chili's is great. I've introduced my kids to Chili's, and it's amazing. But Outback, when we were kids, Mark, it was like, holy cow, we're going to Outback. Now, we lived in a town that probably didn't have great restaurants, and our parents didn't really enjoy food. They weren't like, oh, we got this great new Italian restaurant. So give me the history of Outback, and when did it become kind of like a Chili's and like a Applebee's? Or am I wrong on this?
Well, I think you're showing a little bit of your wealth. I think you're showing a little bit of your age, because you talk to people younger.
I go to Chili's. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Like, when they go to Outback, that is the big night out. So I just think you've aged out of it, Bobby. Outback is still a thing.
You might be, Joe.
Well, the Outback holds a special place in our family because it's where I first met my father-in-law. We were kicked out of Outback that night after a lovely dinner, and the night ended with him with his hand around my neck, holding me up against the wall, telling me he's killed better men than me. So that was
not true.
100% true. At the Outback Steakhouse in Nashville, Tennessee. So we, as a family, love the Outback now.
Stop. Hold on.
This is not a story we'll go deeper into.
Okay. Holy cow. Wow. I've met his father-in-law. He's a terrifying man. Beautiful man. Nice man. Yeah. But yes, I could see how he could be very, okay. Wow. Holy cow. I don't know if I can continue. Go ahead.
We didn't have a great first meeting, but since have a nice relationship, and so Outback always has a special place in our hearts, and we go back there once a year to commemorate our first fight.
Joebay, can you triple stamp a double stamp?
You cannot triple stamp a double stamp.
Okay. I was just how are Lloyd and Harry not in jail for murder? I mean, is that manslaughter? Is it I could make a case it's first degree murder, maybe second degree murder for the Chili's and Mental.
Mental was a hitman, so maybe nobody's pressing charges. Like, we're just better off without him.
Yeah. Very similar to why there's not more Joker criminals out there. Why don't we see more vans that look like dogs? I think if I owned a pet grooming business, that's exactly what I would make my van do. I couldn't even find any on the internet. The presidential suite at the hotel they go to has 2 king beds in the same room.
That was weird.
It's very, very strange. We already talked about this in your very first question. Did you remember that Harry was the smarter one? Harry, when he starts reading that newspaper, he's much smarter than Lloyd. I had forgot that. And Joebay, you're not old enough yet, I don't think, but Mark and I are, or you just don't follow your doctor's orders. Did you ever question whether like Turbolax works? Like, you see this movie and you're like, really? You pour some of that in somebody's coffee and they're really going to uncontrollably diarrhea? And then we had our colonoscopies, not together. Mark, Joebay, do you Did you ever question, does this stuff work? Because you haven't had a colonoscopy yet, correct?
I have not. No, I never. It's a great question. I never.
Well, Joebay, get ready because it works, and it is in the hands of the wrong person. Wow, you could do some real damage to somebody.
What is the timing? I mean, is it within an hour? Is it immediate?
Within a half hour, right, Mark? Within a half hour, it is game on. It's incredible.
To that point, Joebay, it's one of those things where nothing's happening. I'm good. 30, and then once it starts working, it starts working.
Wow. Yeah.
That's very. Yeah, that's
I got a lot.
Hopefully, it doesn't get into the wrong hands.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I got a lot of Bob's big questions. So those are all my questions there. Great job.
Bob, how much money in the briefcase?
Gosh darn it. Well, if there was $6.3 billion that the Joker was sitting on, I would say this has to be $100 billion in that briefcase if I'm doing my math correctly, if I'm doing that.
Significantly more than I thought. Don't you guys think a road trip like these guys go on is always better in theory? Like before you get going, it sounds like a cool thing. I'm not a road trip guy. It just sounds better, but then you're on there and you're like, you're just driving.
Well, we already talked about this. It's very similar to watching Empire Strikes Back. In theory, it sounds great, but then you watch it and it's not.
Took a shot at me there. Why is everyone just going to Aspen via car? Like they leave a note going to Aspen. They go, well, we better get on the road and track them down. Would that be your last option from Rhode Island?
Don't ask Joebay that question. Don't ask Joebay that question.
And why are drivers? It's never their real job. You know, you get in an Uber. I got this other business. I do this at night. And limo drivers. Have you noticed that, Joebay? You travel. There's a lot of Uber drivers. It's never really what they do.
That's a great point. Yeah, it's always got to be a side hustle. Yeah, I can think of a few reasons. You're probably not making a ton of money. But yeah, it's a great observation.
Bob, I'm not even sure where our boy Creasy fits into this. A little sidebar on this, Bob. My daughter Ellie has really been listening to the podcast, so she'll come and give me some info. But she goes, Dad, who's John Creasy? I said, well, we got some work to do here. But would he fit into this movie, Bob? Would it be better if John Creasy from Man on Fire was in Dumb and Dumber? Well,
I was thinking, what if he's mental? What if he's Mr. Samsonite? Then movies end pretty quick. But what if Lloyd and Harry were like Creasy and they have this journey? They're still as dumb, but they're just a tad bit more lethal in their jokes. It's not attempted murder. It's just they take Mental out and slit his throat and stuff peppers down his throat like a Pez dispenser. So maybe slightly different movie, as we always say.
Yeah, really dumb Creasy is like the guy that is like the wild murderer is never like really dumb. They're always so crafty. Somebody should make a movie where it's just like an absolute moron that's also just so vicious and so cool.
Well, yeah, more to come on that. Is if us three could make a movie, maybe that's the initial.
Oh, we're making a movie.
Yeah,
we're making a movie. We got time on our hands.
First movie I think with no helicopters in it in a while.
Wrong. I made a note of this because I know you guys love the helicopters. When the director of whoever the guy who the black guy who's like the cop who's tracking him down, he lands at the state line in Colorado on a helicopter. Gets off the helicopter, and that's right before they turn back and go the wrong way across.
I need a list of movies that don't contain a helicopter. It's a very small list. It's a very, very small list.
And however small it is, it's too big. Every movie.
I guess the time, Braveheart doesn't have a helicopter. Maybe it does. Who knows? I don't know.
Great job, Joebay. We will transition into award. It's award time, guys. The Matthew McConaughey Award for the best scene stealer of the movie, Joebay.
I mentioned him before, but for me, it's a slam dunk. It's Billy the Blind Kid. He's barely in it, but God, I love him. I saw that he appears also in Dumb and Dumber 2. I don't know what role he plays because obviously by that point he's full grown. But just the pretty bird. And then when he appears on the news, I just thought he was really quiet. Like the kid's just a scene stealer and a showstopper. And I thought, want to see more about his life.
I think it's got to be Seabass, right? Seabass has to be the scene stealer, or the cop that drinks the pee. One of those two, I think, would be good. Although, Billy is good too.
Yeah, I think it was a 2-horse race. Cam Neely as Seabass, but I ultimately went with Harlan Williams. His first movie ever, The State Trooper. Just a great job. That little Bob, do that little sound effect in his motion.
No,
when
it's part of my Bob's Big Question. I'm going to make both of you guys do it. That little duck sound. So.
Got to practice that. The Mr. Miyagi Award for Best Parent. It was tough. Joebay, did you find a good parent here?
Yeah, this is a struggle. There was not a lot of great parenting. I'm going to go with Harry, only because he just seems like a very caring guy. But yeah, I would fear for the children. Anyway. I mean, I guess Mary could be a good choice.
Yeah.
But she's an idiot, I think, ultimately. Like Harry is too, but I don't know. I'm scared I would be scared to put my kids in the care of pretty much anybody in this movie, except for Billy the Blind Kid in Apartment 2A. I think he could care for a child.
So you would not want to give your kids to Mary because she seems a little, what was the word you used? A little, what was it, silly or?
I wasn't prepared to defend this one.
Yeah. So then your default is going to be Harry. That's your default. I think Mary, she's delightful. She's rich. She's a little too flirtatious. I had forgot she was married. She's basically going out on dates with people. I don't know what she's doing there, but in a cast where there's not many choices and you can't give kids to Harry, you'd be arrested for giving kids to Harry. It's Mary.
Wasn't she forced to go on those dates though? Didn't the mother-in-law say like
the drunk stepmom?
Yeah, the stepmom. Like, well, we have to pretend that things are normal. So
you don't have to kiss. You don't have to kiss and get in snowball fights. Like, if Mary saw me getting into a playful snowball fight with another woman, she'd be like, "Wait, what are you doing?"
You guys were close. It's Carl Swanson. Old man Swanson has created all of this wealth. We don't even see him. We don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy. Hank Brandt. Carl Swanson is the best parent. The Jen A Award for worst parent. Guys, I went completely opposite of you. I gave it to Mary Swanson for all those reasons you just listed, Bob. I had forgotten she was married too. Her husband's in captivity. There's a ransom, and she's just out frolicking around on the slopes. Lauren Holly, the worst parent. Joebay?
I would echo that. Yeah. I think she's terrible. She's terrible. Although, I mean, we could dissect what kind of parent Lloyd would be. Who knows? There's dumb people. There's dumb people out there that are good parents. He's got a good heart. Maybe he gets both because he could scare me, but he could also surprise you as a great parent.
No. So you're holding Nell. And you're about to, I don't know why, go away. And it's between Lloyd and Mary, and you're going to hand them to Lloyd. Lloyd, not great with money. I mean, they blew through that briefcase fast. And they only had a couple bucks left, and he got, the smut mag, the big cowboy hat, the wind spinners. Lloyd is the worst parent. Lloyd is the worst parent.
Yeah, and he's arguably a little bit of a sociopath, too. I mean, when he talks about selling the dead bird to Billy the Blind Kid, he's like excited about it at first. He's like, yeah. just like, I mean, he's got a screw loose for sure.
Yeah.
eBay Award. Item from the movie that you would most want. I disagree. I think it's Wine 'em, Dine 'em, 69. I'm Cam Neely, Seabass's hat. I do think the Mutt's what did you call it, Bob? The Mutt's Cut. The Mobile and the Lamborghini have got to be ineligible. Joebay, what do you want from this film?
What I want the most is just one issue of Rhode Island Slut. I'd love to see what's in there that it was so important that he get it. But I know Seabass's hat was put off limits. I noticed this time something I'd never noticed before. His buddy also has like a custom trucker hat, and I believe it's got a lot of words on it, but it says something along the lines of, "Happiness is seeing your mother-in-law on the back of a milk cart." I'm a trucker cap. Like I saw that, I was like,
that's a lot of words.
So many words. Yeah. And I think for a while that was popular to have like a lot of words on the trucker hat. It just looks so ridiculous. I thought that would be a pretty funny one to have.
I think right in the bookcase, right next to Terrorist, Hostage, Terrorist, A Study in Duality is the book, Of Course You're Angry, A Family Guide to Dealing with the Emotions of Chemical Dependence. It's the book she's reading in the diner when they come up to put the tab on Seabass. I think that would be good. Pretty obscure, seeing as I had to pause it several times to read the title of it. I just love Terrorist, Hostage, Terrorist, A Study in Duality from Die Hard.
Bob wins the eBay award. Way to go deep on there. I love it. The bookshelf starting to fill up.
The mantle. It's a big mantle, a lot of books. Yeah.
In a movie about dumb people, there are a lot of bad decisions, Bobby. So I am on pins and needles to find out who won the Terrence Howard Award for worst decision.
Well, there were a lot of bad decisions, but, you see a guy that looks like mental on a public phone. You don't tell him to get off the phone. The guy who's trying to bully that guy off the phone, it's just a really bad decision that's not going to end well. He gets close. He gets punched through the glass. That guy, who was in the running for my scene stealer, worst decision of the movie.
Yeah, and that guy, so Mental was just starting his conversation with the boss when that guy started pacing. Like, he couldn't have been on the phone for more than 10 seconds. And he's got another great quote in there, too, when he goes, "Oh, he made me mad. I almost like it." I love that. Yeah, I mean, this actually obviously was a great decision, but picking up Hitchhikers is just, I just don't understand when it's a good idea. Yeah, but it does lead to, like, one of my favorite lines of, I got a good feeling about this one. Pick them up.
Mock. See.
So many great ones from that. I remember my dad picking up a hitchhiker one time with me in the car.
That cannot be true.
I swear to God, he knew the guy from our small town. It was like a former student of his, but he had picked. Well, but it's a long story. But yeah. Don't pick up.
Joebay, we got a tea time.
Don't pick up hitchhikers. All right, yeah, here we go.
Well, Joebay, it's time. Your first time in 2025 to deal with Bob's big questions, Bobby. What do you got?
We'll start with it. Give me your best. He swigs back the piss in the beer bottle, and he does this little like quacking sound. Joebay, give it to me. What's your best impersonation? It's a little quiet. We can't really hear it. The facial expressions, for those of you not listening, for just listening, go back in the video. Very, very good. Mark, do you got any of it?
Wow, Joebay was really good facially. Let me see. I don't know. Could you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear it. Not great. Both of you lose. When's the last time you've been in a limo? Our limo is still a thing, like not a Escalade, a black Escalade or whatever. A limousine, Mark. You're thinking. When's the last time you've been in a limousine?
Man, that is quite some time. You're right, because it's just the black SUV, the Escalade, the Uber. So, I mean, we got to be talking 15 years. I can't even remember the last time.
Yeah. I think Jay Fresh's bachelor party is the last time I was in one. That was a long time ago. Long time ago. Joebay, ever called a number on a bathroom stall for a good time call? Now, I know you didn't call it for the good time, but you're telling me you've never called one of those numbers back in the day? Write it down and call it. See what happens.
I have very few personal policies that I always stick by. Number one is, you see a number on a bathroom wall, you're calling that number.
No doubt. Just who picks up? Who's the person who picks up? I think that's great. Mark, do you know what a Wiener Schnitzel is? Give me what's a Wiener Schnitzel?
Well, a schnitzel is fried, right? Like we get a chicken schnitzel.
That's part of it.
It's like, fried. Is that like a sausage, a fried sausage? Wiener schnitzel?
Veal. It's veal. It's pounded flat veal, breaded and fried. Wiener is a homage to Vienna, where that was invented. Joebay, you did good on that. Can you do the sound effect when he looks down at Mary Swanson in the dream and there's just the headlights on her breast? No. I'm sorry. When he's describing Mary Swanson back at the apartment and he's like, "Man, I had it locked in like a tractor beam." Can you do the tractor beam sound effect?
Oh gosh, I can't even remember what it sounds like.
All right. It's all right.
Can you let me hear yours? You're only asking because you've got a good one. So
no, I'm passing. We've got a tea time. I got to go. Mark, have you ever lived in just a complete dump? Now, if you had cable and a PlayStation, it wasn't a dump. But have you ever lived in a complete dump?
I mean, the SAE house was the bathroom in the SAE house that me and Johnny shared was pretty rough.
Pretty rough. Joebay, I know you have. There's got to be some stories of places you've lived.
Oh, I grew up in one. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I really haven't. I think I've been lucky to live. I guess my house, my senior year in college was pretty dumpy. It didn't have, for the most part, it didn't have guys just peeing outside in the middle of the day, which we were fortunate for.
First house I ever lived in Florida was a 9-bedroom house. We got there early. It was the first time I ever left home. Mom and Dad dropped me off. We got there before the cleaners got there, after like the last people left. 9 bedrooms in a college town. The bathroom was filled with trash. There was maggots in it. Now they eventually cleaned it. Yeah, we used to clean the house, not a lie, opened up all the sliding glass doors and just used a blower to blow it. That was our vacuum. We just blew everything out the doors. It wasn't like Lloyd and Harry's house, but it was pretty bad. Ever peed in a bottle on a road trip? Joebay.
Bob, you know me well enough to know I've peed and puked in every possible situation. Yes, I've peed in a bottle many, many times. And it's true. Once you start, you can't stop because it stings.
Well, I did some research here. How many bottles do you think you could fill up? I went down the road of, hey, what's a normal urination? How many ounces? A really big urination? How many bottles do you think you could fill if you really had to go, Joebay?
I think a 6-pack of beer bottles seems about right.
No chance. No chance. A normal pee is 10. No, a normal pee is 10 ounces. So even if it's triple the normal, that's only 30 ounces. That's only 2 bottles. It's a 16-ounce bottle. It's only 2 bottles.
Well, that's for a normal man.
Mark, you ever peed in a bottle?
No, I'd be afraid to miss. Yeah.
Joebay, you already answered this. Me and Joe Weirda, he went up to University of Florida before I did. He had an apartment. I mean, we lit our farts on fire. 100% we did. Just throwing back a couple road sodas. Are we going to go out? I don't know. We were too young. We weren't that cool. Lighting farts on fires. I have for sure done that. And you can get a little flame. Not the way they had in the joke. Mark, there's no way you ever did that, correct?
No.
You're too sophisticated.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so fun. I want to do it right now. We had a stretch our sophomore year. Like somebody was like, I'm going to try it, and knocked it out of the park. And then it was just like 3 months. Basically all we did was light farts. And God, it was so funny.
Mark, old Lambo or new Lambo?
Aston Martin.
All right, last question because we've got a tea time and Mark did not start us on time. Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels are actually names of NHL players. One of the reasons Cam Neely did the movie, he said those guys were old NHL players. So Joebay, how many years did Jim Carrey play in the NHL and how many years did Jeff Daniels play in the NHL?
Jeff Daniels played in the NHL for 12 years, and Jim Carrey, he had a shorter career. He was only in the for 4 years.
Incredible. Jeff Daniels, 12 years. Jim Carrey, 5 years. I know you didn't look this up. I know you didn't know that.
I forgot he had that last year with Edmonton.
Amazing guess. Great job, Joebay. Great job. That's it, Mark.
Excellent job. All right, just a couple more. The Rudy Sack Award, most emotional moment of the movie. Laughter, clearly an emotion, Joebay. Is that where you went?
It wasn't, actually. The laughter was nonstop, and I already mentioned the scene where he lights the fart that just like my buddy Coco actually randomly called me last night, and we were talking. We hadn't talked in like 3 months, and I was like, man, this is a coincidence because I'm about to do a podcast about one of our favorite movies, and I love that. But I think on this watching, the most emotional time for me, I'm a little embarrassed to admit this, but when Crash Test Dummies started playing as Harry's berating Lloyd for driving a sixth of the way across the country, and I was so low. I mean, I almost had tears in my eyes. I was so emotional. And then when he shows back up on the moped and it backfires and he does the
just like wiggles.
The swing of emotion and you go and do something like this and totally redeem yourself. It's like, yeah, we're back, baby. Like I'm gonna go with that one.
We should be thrown off this podcast because how we didn't mention that in quotes is you do something like this and totally redeem yourself is a commonly used phrase for sure. I had 2 of them. One, disappointment at 2 hours. When I turned it, I'm like, 2 hours? Are we serious? 2 hours of disappointment? Then it obviously, that was wiped away. And it's big gulps. Well, see you later. That's my Rudy Sack. I love that line. I love that line in a movie better than any line in any other movie. I love that line.
It is a good one. One that caught me off guard. It's from the scene with the state trooper when he drinks the piss. And at the very end, I don't even think Jim Carrey's on camera. It's a little throwaway line. Tic Tac, sir? I just burst out laughing as I was eating lunch watching it. I just thought that was spectacular. Does the movie need a different ending? The ending's really good, I think. I think it's really cool, that scene with the bikini models and, hey, are we ever going to catch a break? And him running after the bus when he realizes it.
Do you realize what you've done?
His running is fantastic. But, Joebay, anything you change? I know we need to tighten these things up. The comedies need to be tighter, but anything you change?
Yeah, I read, and I didn't go deep into this, but I read that Jim Carrey refused to film another ending where they actually got on the bus. Don't know where that would have led, but I thought it was an absolutely perfect ending. And the 2-hour thing, honestly, it didn't feel like 2 hours to me. I watched it in 2 segments this week, but when I got towards the end, I remembered the end sort of dragging on. But it was only I think I looked and I was like, oh, there's only 20 minutes left, so... no, perfect, absolutely perfect movie. No changes, no notes.
No,
Bobby?
I would agree. The Weintraub is so funny. The town is 3 miles that way.
His running was great. All right, Hall of Fame plaques to kind of wrap things up here. The Farrelly brothers. We gave them a little bit of love up at the front, but Joebay and Bobby, what do you think of with the Farrelly brothers? You got this one, Dumb and Dumber. There's Something About Mary, which is really, really funny. Shallow Hal or the Academy Award-winning The Green Book?
It's this. I don't know how it can't be this. Something About Mary seemed something very groundbreaking about Something About Mary. This kind of it ushered in the raunchy comedy as I remember it. But I think this is theirs.
Yeah, for me, it's The Green Book. It's it's an important movie. It's an emotional movie. No, it's definitely this.
Dumb and Dumber, it is Lauren Holly, Mary Swanson, a bad parent. Is she Mary from Dumb and Dumber? Picket Fences, TV show for 5 years she was on, pretty famous. Or she's also in Any Given Sunday. Pretty good movie there. But what do you think of Lauren Holly, Joebay?
I don't think of her at all, but I guess if I had to, it would be this movie. I don't know what Picket Fences is. She's Mary Samsonite.
Slippy, slappy, swan. Yes, she's her.
Mary Swanson. Jeff Daniels, not even supposed to be in the movie. An interesting career. You mentioned Harry from Speed, one of the all-time I know I'm dead moments look on a guy's face. In Arachnophobia, way back in the day. Dr. Jennings, this one obviously. He's Abe from Looper, one of Bobby's favorite time travel movies. Will McAvoy from The Newsroom, if you guys ever watched that on HBO, is pretty good. Or he's the flight control guy from The Martian, a really good movie. Bobby, what are you thinking of?
That's what
Daniels?
I think of now. That's what I think of now. When I just close my eyes, I think I'm in that suit getting explained how they got to save that guy. Obviously, this is probably his most iconic role, but for some reason, I think of The Martian. I don't know why.
Yeah, and the Newsroom, for some reason I just hate that character, and it's so self-serious. And every time I saw it, I never really watched the show, but I saw clips from it. Every time I saw it, I was just like, "That's Harry." This guy thinks he's a newsman. He's an idiot.
Oh, Arachnophobia. Don't ever mention that.
God,
don't ever mention that.
Movie.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, Harry from Speed, it's just kind of where I remember Jeff Daniels, although this one made a real run for it. All right, we'll wrap up my Hall of Fame plaques with Jim Carrey. Just an unbelievable triumvirate of movies. Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, Lloyd, The Cable Guy, The Grinch, guy from The Mask, that weird one there, Fire Marshal Bill, The Riddler, harken back to Batman. What are you thinking of, Joebay? Ace Ventura is hard to beat.
Yeah. I think it's if you got to put him on a Hall of Fame plaque, it's Ace. He's just such a good actor, and he's so funny. But I think just that character, that's he's sort of the same guy in a lot of different movies, and even there was a couple scenes in Dumb and Dumber where he kind of pulled the Ace Ventura face and looks and cadence of voice. I think if he's going, the Hall of Fame plaque is going to be. Either Ace Ventura or when he's explaining to people that vaccines are dangerous and scary, because
don't get Joebay started. Just edit that out, Mark. Ace Ventura. We already relitigated this on the Ace Ventura pod. He's Ace Ventura.
He is. I forgot to mention, Truman from Truman Show, which is pretty iconic. But I agree. He will. And Bob told me that he modeled Ace Ventura after a bird. So I always see Jim Carrey as a bird. He's like pecking around out there.
Yes.
Bobby, what do you got?
All right, best names for beers or drinks. A couple of bowls of loudmouth soup. It's the greatest of all time. I can't believe I'm 47 years old and haven't heard that before. It's so good. Cocktails, libations, refreshments, adult beverages, liquid courage, riot juice, social lubricant, hooch, sauce, jungle juice, the good stuff, brain fluid, or rocket fuel. Mark, what's the best name for an adult beverage?
I like swing juice. I don't know if you mentioned it in there, but I like saying swing juice.
Swing juice? Joebay?
If I'm having a beer, I love to call it a cold brick. And one that my Minnesota friends say is a couple barley pops.
Oh, you just stole it from me, Joebay. I didn't write it down, so we're just starting to do some work in Minnesota. I went to a Timberwolves game with a couple of these advisors. Called it a barley pop. It was like a 9.5% IPA. The guy had like 5 of them. He's just, he's a Minnesota dude, man. They're just tougher up there, man. Talking about ice fishing, that accent, just crushing the T-Wolves like, hey, Anthony Edwards, you suck, and he called it barley pops, which is, again, took me 47 years to hear that one. That is a great one. That is a great one. A barley pop. I love that. All right, Nate, synonyms for boobs. Sorry, guys. I don't think this will get an explicit language, but, famously, hey, boy, check out the fun bags on that hose hound. I should have done synonyms for women, hosehound being one of them, which is great. But you got fun bags, melons, hooters, jugs, rack, bazungas, tatas, knockers, boobies, chichis, pillows, jiggle balls, and biggins. Joebay.
God, boobs are the best. I love them all. How about hammers?
Hammers is a great one. So a write-in vote. Hammers wins. Mark, anything?
Fun bags, I think, made me laugh the most when he said
Pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I can't tell if the lighting changed or is Mark blushing. Joebay, is Mark blushing after that comment? All right, best pooping scene in a movie. It's, I think it's a 3-horse race, maybe even a 2-horse race. I think the 2-horse race is this and Bridesmaids. Bridesmaids is an iconic pooping scene. Then you've got American Pie where Stifler gets Finch, goes into the women's bathroom. This is not really, but I had to throw it in here Friday. Don't nobody go in there for about 45 minutes. His dad is in there. And then in Van Wilder, I didn't remember this. I had to watch the YouTube clip of it. But the laxative they use, in this one, it's Turbolax. This one is colon blow, which I think is a great name for a laxative. Mark, best pooping scene in a movie.
I had Dumb and Dumber till you mentioned colon blow, so you got to give a nod to that.
Joebay, best charactercars.com vehicle that you can rent. The Mutt Cuts van. You could, if that's in the States, we're going to get it tomorrow, correct? We're renting it tomorrow.
Absolutely.
The Mutt Cuts van, the Ghostbuster wagon, the Batmobile, almost every single kind of Batmobile. The James Bond Jaguar, I think, or is that an Aston Martin? What is James Bond? Is it whatever?
It's an Aston Martin, naturally.
Aston Martin. Lightning McQueen, the Scooby-Doo Mystery Mobile, the Dukes of Hazzard General Lee, and Kit. Joebay.
Wow. Some great options there, and some that I would rather drive than the Mutt Cuts van, but I think the Mutt Cuts van it probably, as you're driving around, it's going to get the most love and comments.
Yeah. Mark, any thoughts?
The Nolan, if it's the Nolan Batmobile,
it is.
That's
They have it. It's you'd put it in loiter mode. You'd put it in intimidation mode. Last one, best pet store name. I Got Worms is theirs. I Got Worms. The Barking Lot, Happy Tales, The Cat's Meow, Kitty Corral, or Puppies to Guppies. Joebay, what's the best pet store name?
I Got Worms. That's Vince. The look on her face when he says I Got Worms is just classic. I love that.
Then I think I had one more. We got it. You might want to push that tea time back, Joebay. Don't worry about it. All right, best athlete with a actor's name, right? So Burt Reynolds, he was a minor league baseball player. Tony Bennett was an NBA coach or NBA player for a little bit. Michael Jackson, Stephen King plays for the DC United. Jimmy Walker, the number 1 NBA pick in 1967. Will Smith, catcher for the Dodgers. David Price, actor in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, also a pitcher at Vandy. Anthony Edwards of ER fame. I'm going to leave Michael Jordan out because that's obviously the answer. Mark, out of those, what's the best athlete with an actor's name?
The best athlete with an
Best
actor's
athlete.
name. So we're looking for the best athlete. Gosh, none of the athletes really stuck out. There was David Price. Is that
David Price was pretty dang good. A Vandy boy that Joebay likes. It's probably between David Price and Anthony Edwards, I would say. Joebay, you got another one?
Anthony Edwards, yeah.
No, I thought you were going to leave off Michael B. Jordan. I was excited to jump on that, but yeah, it's got to be David Price, my fellow Vanderbilt Commodore.
Vandy boy.
Commodores.
Well, in an odd turn of events, I won that round. So good job by me. Good job by me.
Congratulations, Bobby. We end with the MVP award for Dumb and Dumber. Joebay, what does this thing not work without? Who do you need?
It's a slam dunk, Jim Carrey. And some of the other names that were mentioned on there, I saw Steve Martin and Martin Short, who are both so funny and such good actors. And I'm trying to think of them in this movie. You can't do a Jim Carrey movie without Jim Carrey. He's just the best. And he did this movie so well. I mean, there was a few that he did where he didn't really pull the full Jim Carrey, somewhat recently. This one, he was at his full powers, and he's definitely my MVP.
Yeah, it's almost you have to omit him because it's the obvious answer. But could anybody have done what Jeff Daniels did to compliment him, a serious actor? You don't know. Could he pull this off? And just absolutely nailed it. Not better than Jim Carrey, but man, I don't know if it could have worked with another sidekick beside Jeff Daniels. I know it's kind of cheating, but both were awesome.
No, that's where I went. I think Jeff Daniels. I think the sidekick portion of this was really important, and he was not a funny guy, in reality, and they just kind of picked him up for $50,000, and it a slam dunk. Really worked. Well, Joebay, we end now with a new segment called PozCast Predictions. You can make a prediction about anything that you think is going to come true here in the next little bit. What do you got?
Tennessee Tech lost last night, so my prediction from last week was off. So do something easy like, hey, we're going to rotate around the sun again. Let's do something that will actually come true.
All right, I'm going to predict I'm going to take a little money out of Bob's wallet on the golf course today.
If we make the tee time. But, Mark, take your time getting this thing started. No big deal. We didn't have anything to do.
My dad always told me there's two things you can never be late for, tee time and a flight, because you might as well not get out of bed if you're late.
Amen.
Your dad, not your dad-in-law. Your dad, because, not your dad-in-law.
Bobby, any prediction out of you?
I think I'm going to take money off of Joebay. I think we'll be late for our tea time. That's my prediction. I know that's going to come true.
Hoping that comes true. I will go with the fact that we're going to get the Epstein files today, but they will be heavily redacted. We just won't really ever get to the bottom of this for some reason. So be prepared to be disappointed. Joebay, it has been a blast. Dumb and Dumber, an incredibly fun rewatch. Until next time, fellas, this has been the PozCast.